What's up, everybody? So you see the title of the video. You know what I'm here to discuss today. I know my absence. It's been a long time. You can clearly tell from my setup that different location, different Cade City Sports. We're going to get into that later in the week, guys. I'm not quite done setting up my stuff yet, but I will show you my setup once it's complete. I got a new rig, the whole 9 yards, guys. So we'll get to that at a later date and time. All right, I want to talk about what we have seen from this offense, really and honestly over the last 6 weeks, but in particular, narrowing it down even further, over the last 2 weeks. Because I've received some pretty interesting comments following kind of like the Denver and the Giants game when we had those back-to-back losses. And, man, I got to tell you, there's a couple of people that are really freaking eating their words right now when it comes to Jalen Hurts, because I just want to show you all something. Just to give a really quick insight in how well this young man is playing. So I'm going to go to my share screen, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show my stat finder. So StatHead, it's a source that you can use here, guys. I want you to take a look. I got it sorted out by quarterback passer rating. I know we can make arguments about passer rating and if it's the whole truth of a situation. The bottom line is it's an impartial party, okay? I definitely think that we can have a conversation at later dates and times to talk about like the validity of how much you should lean into some of these statistics. But we're getting an unbiased viewpoint about the play. And over the last 2 weeks, look at that quarterback rating, guys. Look at that rating of that 155.2. Number one in the league, and it's number one in the league by quite a bit. I mean, Jalen Hurts has a very commanding lead, if you say that, you know, in terms of like what's going on right now. Let me widen this up a little bit more for you guys so you can see better. 155.2. Over the last 2 weeks, guys, he's had 43 passing attempts with 34 completions, a 79.1% completion rate. Let me say that again, guys. 79.1%. He's almost hitting on 80% of his throws. That's crazy when you know that Jalen Hurts has at least 1 to 2 throwaways. You know, because when you're hitting at 80%, it's not that many throwaways, but you know there's going to be 1 to 2 of them mixed in there. So, I mean, these numbers are crazy, guys. 505 yards. He's got over 500 passing yards. 7 touchdowns to no interceptions over the last 2 weeks, guys. I mean, there's really nothing here that can be criticized because this young man, he has evolved into what this offense needed when the offensive line couldn't give him what we needed for a duration of time. Now, early on in the season when I was making videos, I told you guys straightforward what I thought was going on. I gave you my opinion that I thought it would get better, you know, but I did say, hang on, let me expand myself here, guys. It doesn't want to expand me. There we go. I did say straightforward that, look, I thought that Landon Dickerson being injured was a big deal along the offensive line. And I still think to this day there are people who maybe think that we're not being, you know what I'm saying, like truthful in what we're stating when we say that. But the bottom line is you saw this Philadelphia Eagles offensive line with Brett Toth at center and with a healthy Landon Dickerson, right? With Lane Johnson feeling better. With Mulata locked in and focused, right? Tyler Steen, pretty decent game last week, to be quite honest. You saw what that offensive line can do. For the first time on this season, we saw the Eagles not just win the football game, but I mean win the football game, guys. I mean, we're talking over 400 yards of total offense. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this team is out gaining us in yardage and stuff, but we're just out executing them. No, this was a full, you know, assault on the New York Giants. Like, yes, they got out executed. Straightforward, they got outgained, they got outplayed, they got outmuscled, the whole 9 yards. I think you're starting to see something kind of come together in this Philadelphia Eagles offense. And I think what's happening is that below the surface of everything, you can kind of get a feel for their evolving an offensive identity that while it's tricky to describe, and I told you guys this last year before everyone started pumping out about Earhart Perkins. Remember who came on the live stream and told you, oh, crap, I'm hearing certain things in Jalen Hurts' quarterback cadence that tells me this is an Earhart Perkins offense because I know what that cadence sounds like. If you go through it, I just want you to take a quick search, guys. If you go through and you look at the quarterback coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Sorry, my thing wasn't lighting up. So if you look through the quarterback coach of the Eagles, okay, what you're going to find out is you got a young man by the name of Scott Loeffler, right? Scott Loeffler joined the Philadelphia Eagles as the quarterback coach. If you look up Scott Loeffler's background, right, I mean, of course, he was the head coach at Bowling Green for a while, and then he came over to take this job with the Eagles, right? But I just want to pull up his background and show it to you so you guys can understand some of the decisions that get made with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to pull this up, and I'll share it with you guys. I want you to look through his career history, okay? because I think something's going to stand out to you real fast, and you'll get the point I'm trying to make here about why this was a significant hiring. And it's interesting that nobody's talking about this behind the scenes, to be quite honest. All right. So let me share the screen again. All right. So let me go ahead and go over here to Scott Loeffler, share. All right, guys, look over to the right where you see the career history. Where did he first get his coaching start? And look at the years of the coaching start, guys. As a student assistant and a graduate assistant between 1996 and 1999, he was at a little program you may have heard of, the University of Michigan, and he's there as a coach. Why is that significant, guys? Who was at the University of Michigan as the quarterback, kind of in and out at this time? I mean, they had a couple, but, was kind of fighting off to maintain his ownership over the quarterback position at Michigan, ironically. It's none other than Tom Brady, right? When you think of Erhardt Perkins, when you think of that system, you think of that name, what's the name that comes to your mind, right? You're thinking of Tom Brady. Now, I'll tell you right now that the Erhardt Perkins it's not a singular system. It's a concept. There's a concept behind this system, right? And you can run power from Erhardt Perkins. You can run spread. You can run, two tight end formations. If you're looking at the Erhardt Perkins, early on in Tom Brady's career, they're very much like a, single back, quarterback under center, power run game style, right? Play action style. Then they evolved into more of the spread offense with like the Wes Welkers and stuff like that came out, right? They started going 11-man, kind of really started bringing the NFL into that, right? Then once the NFL pretty much all universally accepts 11-man, they made another shift because their strength was no longer at wide receivers, at tight end, and they started running a lot of 2 tight end, 12 personnel sets, right? Aaron Hernandez, Gronk, those years, right? If you guys remember, they even stole the Giants starting tight end who got waived with like an injury designation, and the Patriots claimed him. It was a move that we had, Willie Lampkin, or whatever his name is, Lufkin, whatever his name is. This past year, we got criticized for it, but really and honestly, you can go back to the 2010s and Bill Belichick and the Patriots stealing a starting caliber player off of the Giants, for waiving them like idiots with a waiver, with an injury designation, and they just claimed him, and we're like, well, we're willing to stash him, to be quite honest. We'll put him on our 53 as long as it takes us to actually get him and, put him through to the injury reserve. So, I mean, all those things kind of come into play, guys. Like, if you look at where he's coached at, the style that they're implementing, I don't think that it's a coincidence that we're now seeing Jalen Hurts go under center more. It kind of makes sense when you see the whole parameters of, like, we already started fiddling around with it a little bit. Like, Doug would do it here and there when Doug was here, but Doug was very much more of a spread shotgun system type guy. I think he was more willing to do it with Carson than he was with Nick Foles, and some of that has to do with the type of systems that Nick was coming out of, to be quite honest, compared to Carson, who did play under center, to be fair, a little bit more often when he was at North Dakota State. But even when you go past that, like what we've seen is like, Nick comes in here. Nick has run guys under center a little bit. There's not many teams that are heavy under center programs anymore. Most teams are going to operate mostly out of the shotgun. Even Shanahan has had a sharp, increase back towards shotgun snaps. That's kind of a dirty secret no one's talking about. They always mention Shanahan when they talk about under center play, and rightfully so. Sean McVay and that tree in general, guys, deserves, kind of the consideration for that being brought back into like popularity in the NFL. But like even some of those systems are starting to expand out there a little bit more into shotgun play. And now here we go, when the whole league's going left, here go the Eagles going right a little bit, right? Now we see the Eagles are they're veering off this way a little bit. And we're starting to see that by putting Jalen Hurts under center, the offense is opening up, guys. The offense is just straight up opening up at this point in time. It's really interesting to see this Philadelphia Eagles, unit come together in this new way of doing and operating things. And the fact that to get back to the basics of really getting physical, and then I think what can't be slept on is the fact that the timing of the routes, the spacing in the routes, everything seems to have kind of cleared up a little bit. Now, there's multiple reasons why that happens, but some of it has to do with pacing, timing of the plays, right? When we talk about playing in rhythm, when you hear like us guys that talk ball and you hear us talk about like playing in rhythm, that's part of it, right? That you're being in where you're spaced correctly, right? Where the timing of the play, the wide receiver's route stem is lining up to the quarterback's footwork. When all those things are in harmony with one another, that's basically what we're alluding to. That's what we're talking about when we say that a player is playing in a rhythm. That's what we mean by the offense being in rhythm, right? And then the other side to this is that I don't know Kevin Patullo's background in terms of how much familiarity he has with under center work or anything like that. But I will say, to me, it felt like there were points in times when we were in our lows, like we were lolling as an offense. It felt like there was a disconnect in communication between offensive line, quarterback, and play caller. Something seemed to be off. Something seemed to be a little off there. And then I can see that since they've kind of gone back into a more under center designed offense, I don't see as many like late breaks coming out of the huddle as much. Now, sometimes it is by design, guys, to be fair. I don't want to completely, but there were some times like early on in the year to where I think we even got a false start penalty. It was either this week or the week prior. We caught one. You'll see Nick has to use timeouts sometimes. Like, in some of that has to do with the fact that, maybe perhaps they come out and they're expecting to get a look that they don't get. So now they're trying to make these adjustments, and now you're late into the adjustments. All those things are possible. But some of that does go back to the fact that there seemed to be some kind of an imbalance in the communication between the play caller, the quarterback, the offensive line, setting the protections, getting into the adjustments if that has to be made, if you have to make an adjustment at the line of scrimmage, things like that. You could be adjusting the slide of the line. We've seen that a couple times where there's a play in this game where you saw a 4-man slide and you had lane kicks out to the right, and you got Saquon's kind of filtering out the junk. So it was a 6-man protection, but Jalen very clearly slid the line left to get the timing there. You see these little things are like, not things that people normally talk about, right? I mean, it's not the most fascinating thing to talk about in the world unless you're just really into like the X's and O's stuff. I mean, like for me, I can listen to guys that play along the offensive line, people in our community like Jalen Williams and my guy Dubs, the O-line guru. My guy, Mr. Sandman, played, defensive line. Those guys, when they talk about the intricacies of sliding protections and shooting gaps and like the way that stuff all kind of works, I could personally listen to them talk all day, but I'll be honest with you, it doesn't do the greatest numbers on YouTube. It's just my own personal fulfillment. I love to learn and expand my knowledge. And I played quarterback mostly, guys. I played a little defense. I played a little safety and stuff when I played ball, but like primarily, man, I never played in the trenches. So like, even though I've had a chance to coach a little bit and have some shots and work with guys along the line, it's not my, it's not my cup of tea, like, to be quite honest. Like those guys, like my guy Caleb and, my guy Jalen, who played collegiately along the O-line, like they expand my knowledge every time I talk to them about the position groups and basically what they do down there. I will say that I'm hopeful that this marriage can keep going. Now, I do think we have to be a little careful because we're talking about the Giants, and I think the Giants were just they were in the right spot to break. They were in the right spot for us to break them. And I don't want to underrate that conversation, that part of the conversation. I don't want to like kind of, just gloss over that because I do think that that's very much a part of it, guys. I mean, very clearly that's a part of it, that they were just prone for this to happen to them in particular. I think we all kind of recognize that a little bit, that I felt like the dam was going to break. I could feel it in the game a little bit. I knew that if we got down there and we went up 21-10, I knew that dam was going to break on them. It seemed very obvious. I thought that we even let momentum get away from some penalties that we had on our second possession. I felt like we had a chance to kind of really gain very solid control of the game at that point when we forced the punt from them. We should have probably taken it down the house, but penalties kind of backed us up a little bit. We had a little hiccup on that second drive, even though we moved the ball pretty well. It feels like this is a game where they like, you're going to have this big marquee game against Green Bay, right? Opening kickoff last year, we had Green Bay in Brazil. It was dubbed a big game. A lot of people didn't feel like we had, a lot of people felt like it was going to be an entertaining game, but that we probably were not going to be the victors in that game. And then we came out on top in that football game, and our pass rush really kind of asserted itself. I mean, that was really the Zach Bond game. I mean, Zach Bond introduced himself real quickly in the first game of the year. Man, like this feels like another really big game for the Eagles, right? I mean, to me, as I'm looking over the NFC right now, I don't think that I'm very confident in Dallas. I thought Dallas has – I think Dallas has the offensive potential to be very good. They just don't play as a unit, and I don't know where to take them right now because anytime they play like a better tier team, a playoff caliber team, they show up flat, in my opinion, against those teams. Minus Washington. I'll give them Washington. Like, that was a good game against them. I don't care that, there was an injury in the game and Daniels got hurt. Like, I mean, it is what it is. Outside of that game, I don't feel like that, I feel like when they play the better teams in the league, there's a little bit of a letdown. So I'm not very confident in Washington right now. I'm not very confident in Dallas right now. Right now, I know that Philly's a good team. I think Detroit's a very good team. I think Green Bay is a good team that doesn't play up to its potential. Green Bay kind of reminds me a little bit of the Eagles, a little bit, to where like I think both of us tend to play down a little bit the competition at times. But I do think that those three teams in particular are kind of ahead of the pack. I think Tampa Bay can get in the mix. I think if Tampa Bay gets in the right type of groove at the right time, I think they can be a threat. I'd say look no further than the year they won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. They were not this dominant team throughout the majority of the season. They got it going in the second half of the season. So they're a team that I think if everything hit and clicked at the right moment for them, they could be dangerous in the postseason. I think San Francisco is good enough to beat a lot of the mediocre and bad teams. I don't know that they have the talent level, although defensively there are pieces there that could be quite challenging in a postseason against them. I mean, if they can muddy you up and just win a really ugly game, I could see them upsetting somebody, but I don't think that they're ready to compete on that level yet. I do think the Rams are there, though. I do think that the Rams, from a talent perspective, are there. I still think that Matthew Stafford, his inability to kind of manipulate the pocket, I mean, he's got to kind of see it fast and get it out fast. If he can't do that, then I think that they're in a little bit of trouble right now. So as I kind of look at this and I look at the NFC, like Detroit didn't start off hot. They're starting to get their form together right now. I mean, we didn't come out hot out the gates. We played a tough schedule and we kept winning. We kept winning games against that tough schedule, guys. So, I mean, I'd give us credit for like what we've been able to do in terms of the way we've been able to kind of bring it together. But I look at Detroit, I look at Philly, I look at Green Bay, I look at Tampa Bay, and I look at Rams in particular. And I think those five teams, we're in the hunt here, guys. We're in the hunt for this back-to-back thing. We've definitely looked like one of those teams again this year. We got to keep it all together. We still have moments of lapses. I don't think the defense is as good this year as it was last year, to be quite honest. But I do think we see, these little signs, these little sparks come from the defense. Like Quinyon and Cooper DeJean, two incredible draft picks, man. Campbell, my Lord, that guy can play football. It's a really good player. Zach Bond's a good player. Welcome back, Nakobe Dean. I know we're talking about offensive identity, but tell me that run defense didn't get an identity back the minute that Nakobe Dean inserted himself into the run defense. Interesting. Interesting to see how well we performed as a run defense the minute Nakobe Dean returned. How quickly it seems to be turning around now. I mean, I really love what we have in terms of like most of the secondary. I still think we're a little unstable at CB2. I love the fact that they're giving the chance to a draft pick. We have this chance for some of our drafted players to get a shot to earn it, right? I mean, I don't know that he's going to lock it down ultimately, guys, if I'm going to be quite honest. But, I mean, to be real about it, guys, I mean, he's got a shot. He's got an opportunity, and I thought he played a pretty good game last week. So, CB number 2, like, I do like the fact that, like, you let a Ja'Cory Bennett go out there when he gets back or healthy to get into the mix, right? I would prefer that we don't keep some of the older guys. Dory Jackson is who I'm getting at. Like, Dory Jackson should be break in case of emergency, in my opinion, or maybe specific to a matchup. Dory Jackson is a guy that's not going to complain if you got to play him inside or outside, or like he'll play wherever you need him to align, basically. I can understand from a matchup perspective maybe doing something there, but I just think that there's not a whole lot separating Kaylee Ringo from Dory Jackson, from Ja'Cory Bennett right now. I think Ja'Cory Bennett probably has the greatest upside of these guys, but I think Kaylee Ringo presents an interesting challenge for defenses when they have big physical receivers themselves. Not many teams can counter you with a 6'2", 210-pound guy who could go out there and match up physically and is athletically gifted. Now, Ringo doesn't have the smoothest hips, guys, but neither are your 6'2", 220-pound receivers. They're not going to be the most fluid in the hips either. So, I mean, it kind of like, in my opinion, I think they had that young man misaligned. I don't, if there's one thing that I would like to get on Vic Fangio about is, dude, for the love of, for God's sake, man, move Quinyon over to Slay's spot, man. Play him on the field, and then move, Ringo over there to the boundary. Let Ringo play on the boundary, where he can utilize his assets of being bigger, physical, straight line speed, where we don't have to worry about so much of the hip fluidity and things like that. Like, yeah, I mean, we're still gonna have to worry about him a little bit about being too high in his back pedal. Making sure that he's sinking his hips down correctly when he's in his back pedal. That stuff still matters. Don't get me wrong, no matter what side of the field you're playing. And of course, in the modern NFL, it's not like you just go like, oh, your field or your boundary. Like, they normally you have a left or you have a right cornerback. We're clearly carrying Quinyon on the best receiver this year, which is definitely a wrinkle we haven't seen before. But I still think that the best bet here is to let Quinyon play the left side. let, Kaylee Ringo, if that's who we're going to roll with, play the right side. I think Jacorian Bennett gives you some flexibility to be able to, just like, kind of like with Quinyon, once you get him ingrained, I think he's a competitor. I think he fights. You're going to get penalties with him. He's going to commit some penalties here and there, but he's athletically gifted enough to where, you could just kind of match up however you need to with him once he's back. But that's my thing, man. Like, I would like to see if they're going to play Kaylee Ringo, like let that man play right cornerback. Give him the opportunity to use his straight speed, that vertical speed. We know he's not the most fluid, mover in terms of like being able to sink, quickly turn, things like that. That's not his game, but he's physical. He'll come up, play the run. Sometimes a lot of these defensive backs will fail to wrap up, and it's always aggravating. But, Kaylee's got a little weight behind him, to be quite honest. I really wish that they did something like that defensively, guys. That's what I've been seeing week to week. It's been my thoughts in my head is like, damn, why don't they just switch this up a little bit, man? The edge rushing situation, guys, to me is like confusing. Can we use like someone? I don't think you need a Hendricks. I don't think you need I don't think you need that level, that caliber of pass rusher guys, right? I don't think you need a Crosby. I don't think you need a Hendricks per se. Does this defense still need one? I think it depends upon, to get to Green Wingman's comment to an extent, how do you want to deploy and how do you want to use Campbell? I really like the way one of the things that they were doing in the Giants were doing, I liked a lot, is they were moving and matching guys like Brian Burns, what's his name, Ahmed, the young man over there, Carter, Abdul Carter, the young Penn State guy. I love the way that they were playing them in the B gap, playing them over the center, playing them outside as overhangs, like put their hands in the dirt from time to time. I really wish that we took a similar note when it comes to guys like Jalen Hunt. Jalen Hunt he's bigger than what people realize. Like, yes, he started off as a safety. He's one of the bigger dudes in that room right now, to be quite honest. But Jalen Hunt is an incredible athlete, okay? Then you look at a guy like, Josh Uche, incredible athlete. You look at Campbell, incredible athlete. Zach Bond can play in these roles. Like, I wish they would do more to try to get these guys matched up over like guards or the center, just to really create a problem for offenses and pretty much what they're going to do, try to force them into doing something stupid, like sliding their protection, and then we back out into something different. We're definitely, using a simulated pressure look, and we're just trying to get them to slide a certain way because, maybe we got a replacement blitz come in or something like that. We have something dialed up like that. Or we're just basically going to try to take advantage of the fact that, like, we got Bond, we got Campbell who can rush the quarterback, right? We got athletically gifted guys like Jalen Hunt. We got guys like Josh Uche. These dudes that are super freaking explosive football players, right? From the edge rushing position or off-ball linebacker position that have edge rushing abilities. I wish we did that more, guys. I really do wish that we did that a little bit more, man. I wish that we saw more of that kind of going on. But unfortunately, man, I have as much control as you do over anything, which is neither of us have absolutely control over anything, do we, guys? Oh, well. What can we do, guys? What can we do? Other than come on here and complain together. That's what we can do pretty much. What's up, G-Dragon? How you doing, bro? Unspoken, what's good, man? How are you, buddy? Unspoken said Landon Dickerson played a lot better. Facts. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier in the year, Unspoken. I was like, yeah, I mean, Landon's not playing the greatest in the world, but he's very clearly injured. I mean, like I said, when I rolled the tape on, like, I think it was week 1 when I was rolling the tape, guys, and I was like, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you the truth what I see on the tape. But it's on the tape is when they inserted Brett Toth for Landon, the blocking did get better. I'm not going to lie about that. But I'm like, it's not because Brett Toth is anywhere near as good a player as Landon Dickerson. He's very clearly freaking injured. Yeah, we saw those struggles early on. And I knew, I was like, you know what? They're going to get all down on them. The entire NFL will. They'll be talking crap about us. And then Landon's going to get healthy, and this team's going to take off. Little G Griffith, what's up, buddy? Says, I'm a big fan of Eagles. Season better, Eagles 6-2. Appreciate it, buddy. G Dragon said 100 yards rushing from RB1 plus 70% completion from Hurts equals unstoppable. Tank Bixby got in there, G Dragon for 100 yards. That offensive line did a heck of a job, man. I know that, the title, obviously, guys, titles to videos and the thumbnails are meant to bring people in that don't know the community yet. It's very obviously meant to be a little bit of eye candy to bring other people in. But we all know that when you say Saquon, and you're talking about having a big game, and boy, did my voice just cracked out like I was a 13-year-old. I caught that. Don't worry. When we say that, we're very clearly talking about the offensive line. We're very clearly talking about the offensive line is back. It's really, and we can't do this because of character limits on YouTube. It kind of penalizes you if you go over like 60 characters and you're flirting with disaster in your titles. But it's really offensive line plus Saquon plus Jalen equals unstoppable, plus Smitty plus AJ plus Goddard. I mean, there's a big formula there, no doubt about it. But Dennis Allen, what's good, buddy? He says, I'm so glad Kevin Patullo is getting smart with the offense. Yeah, it's always really hard. Like, I thought they've done a really good job game planning, Dennis. Like, even since week one, I mean, this offense, you remember last year, Dennis, how, like, we were all getting on them because they were really struggling underneath Kellen Moore to get, like, early starts in games. Like, we were just really bad on the first possession of games until we weren't. Eventually, a switch kicked on, and we were fine. But there was, like, a good duration of the season, like the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season where, I mean, we were definitely a little iffy in terms of, like, first drive production in the NFL. And, like, we were, like, one of the bottoms for a while. Jesus, pause on that one. We were one of the bottom producing teams. There we go. That's better. Linda, what's up, Linda? Toth played better at center than he did at guard. Big difference. 100% agree, Linda. Can't disagree with that one. That's 100% correct. Eagles Realist, what's up, man? I like the Jalen Hurts logo, man. Good to hear from you, Gay City. Hope everything is good in your world. Doing good, man. Doing good, guys. I mean, the obvious here, as you can see behind me, is I moved, guys. So it's weird because, for 10 years of my life, guys, I lived in Greensboro, North Carolina. My channel is called Gate City, not because I'm in Gate City, Virginia. I get that one quite a bit. Guys, I'm not in Gate City, Virginia. I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina is where I was for 10 years. It's because Gate City Boulevard is a major road in the city I live in, too. And we're also called the Gate City because before during the foundations, the building of the modern interstate, basically we had some of the major highways ran through Greensboro to the west. So they called us the gateway to the west. So we were the Gate City, essentially. But I'm in Cleansville now, which is still in Guilford County, guys, but it's outside of Greensboro. Yeah, I'll give you guys a tour of everything. It's not quite ready yet. I mean, I'll show you a little bit, but like I got like pizza boxes. Don't judge me, bro. Don't judge me. All right, y'all can see. Like I got some pizza boxes kind of still sitting here, guys. I ain't had a chance yet, but this is like a loft area, guys. So visually speaking, what you're seeing, guys, visually is this is a lofted area. The door behind me is like right here. That's where I'm going to store like all the audio equipment, the lighting, all that kind of stuff's going in there. Right now, I don't need any lights up because there's enough daylight coming in here and there's enough lighting to eliminate it. But if it's at night, I'll have to. Sorry, keep forgetting the camera's right here. I'm using my cell phone as the webcam, guys. And then there's a door this way that you can kind of see. That's a bathroom. And then you have the 3 bedrooms that are up around the foyer. Obviously, middle of the day, no one's here except for me. There's a stairway down there that leads to the bottom floor of the house, and I have like my garage and my shed out back and stuff. So yeah, guys, I got some stuff coming up, man. I'm going to do a full tour. I've dabbled in other channels and other topics. I have a really good relationship with a lot of the guys that are in this content community, like Mike and I and Philly Fresh and I. The 3 of us, like we came up together as content creators. Philly, Mike, myself, and Reese from Philly Fresh. Those guys know that I dabble in other topics, and I'm going to expand my footprint in those topics. I just didn't have a setup to do that. Shout out to my guys from AT&T. One of them is an Eagles, fan, and he follows a lot of those content creators. And I told him what I wanted to do. He set me up with some Wi-Fi 6E. Got the modem set up here. I got 1 gig fiber. I'm running about 800 upload speed and 800 download speed right now. So I'm able to do some things that in the previous home I just did not have the connection speed to do what I wanted to do. So we're gonna venture out into that, guys. All right, but everything's going well, guys. Everything's going well. Unspoken said, if Dory Jackson runs from contact, he simply can't play if he doesn't want to tackle. Yeah, I mean that's fair, Unspoken, in terms of the low zone. Green Wingman said, do you think we will leave Campbell on the edge? Like you said, this defense really took form once Dean returned. Jihad has the potential, but Dean is ready and works better off of Bond. I think it's a fair assessment of things, Green Wing Man. I think you'll still see him. I still think we'll see Jihad play a little bit off ball. I'm sorry, guys. I always want to keep looking. I keep forgetting the webcam's not here. It's at a 45 to me. I do think that he's going to play a little off ball still, to be quite honest, just because I think Jihad Campbell is elite. He's special in coverage. I think that range that young man shows is exceptional in what he's able to do. But at the same time, I think you're on to something, which is in run defense in particular. There's a clear difference when Nakobe Dean enters the game. So, they're going to have to find some kind of a balancing act here. I think we all kind of realize that eventually Jihad was probably going to take a slight dip in snaps, but they're still using him. It's not like he's still a vital part of the defense. I love the combination of finding ways to get Jihad Campbell, Nakobe Dean, and Zach Bond on the field at the same time. I think it makes us very unique and very difficult to defend. Now, do I think that Jihad Campbell has some development to do as an edge rusher? Sure, of course. What's up, Eagles Uncensored? How you doing, buddy? Say, what's good, Gates? Been a long time. Hope all's well. Doing well, guys. I'm doing well. The baby, I know it's what you guys are alluding to. You guys are hoping everything's okay with the baby. She's doing really well. You'll probably hear her downstairs right now. I have a mic on. I'm hoping it stays to me and it's not picking up too much of the background stuff. So it's my DJI. It's the mic mini from DJI. She's doing really well. She's getting really vocal now, guys. She's putting together a few words. She says, hey. We hear she says no. I think her first word was actually no. We were in the car one day and I was picking on her sister. Her sister's 15. So she's an annoying teenager at this point. And I don't know what I was saying, but I said something to her sister joking around and we heard the baby go, no. I started laughing. I was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting first word. But yeah, she's putting together some words. She's getting stronger. She was born low muscle tone, so we are kind of dealing with that a little bit, but she's doing better. She from a assisted position, if we take the boppy pillows for y'all that are parents, guys, trust me, until a couple of years ago, I had no idea what the heck a boppy pillow was. But the boppy pillows are these, for you guys that aren't parents, it's these big U-shaped pillows that give the baby support. You can put them basically right under their chest, guys, and you get your arms under them, and then that helps them kind of build their head control and stuff. She can get from the boppy in a seated position. She can actually lean herself up now from that assisted position. So she's doing really good, guys. She's doing very, very good. Samuel said, welcome back. Missed you. Jalen's autonomy in play calling is showing. And do you think making AJ a priority for real would help our attack approach early in games? I'm not one of these people, Samuel, that believes that we should detract AJ Brown from the offense. I think AJ opens a lot of things up, to be quite honest. But I'm also going to be honest as someone who has experience calling plays. There is a reason for the saying that too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, right? That can kind of be true to an extent, right? It's not that it's a bad thing inherently. It's just it's taxing, right? It's very involved to find unique ways of getting so many different players the ball at times. And I think that can sometimes cloud from just doing what you need to do in terms of setting your offense, right? In terms of okay, this is our opponent. This is where our advantage lies. We got to attack where the advantages are, right? We've got to take what the defense is giving us a little bit. And I think for AJ, that's frustrating because what are the defenses doing? They're starting to play a lot of zone on us. Now, we've seen a little progression towards man, and it's always funny to me because if you haven't learned yet, if you're going to play man coverage against this football team with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback, you're making a big mistake. But they're zoning up so they can bring more people in the box to try to take away the run so there's more bodies there, and then they're keeping safety help above AJ Brown, to be quite honest. And I think that's frustrating AJ because I don't think that we've done the greatest job. I think it's what you're alluding to, Samuel, which is maybe early in games. AJ is generally thought of as the guy that you don't need to create offense for. He creates his own offense, and that's what makes him such a great player. And anytime you get man on AJ, the ball should go to AJ in man coverage. He's going to beat it. But I can see your point that maybe early in games, first, second possession of the football game, maybe have a play dialed up to get AJ the ball, try to, actually get an actual look to him, actually create offense around him. I can see the point of that, yeah. I can see where that would make sense. G-Dragon said, almost trade deadline, CB1 or an edge. I think it'll depend upon – I think the way they look at it, G-Dragon, is it just depends upon what's available in terms of the free agency options, right? From what I heard is there's more edge players available for trade than there are like legitimate CB1s out there floating around. So if I had to take a wild guess, it would be more likely we got an edge over CB1. But it really just depends. Like you never know who's not really available, but if the right phone call comes through and the right partnership, and maybe there's a contract thing coming up with a player and they just aren't going to have the funds to extend said player, but the Eagles are willing to take on a year or two of the contract and not worry about actually re-signing that said player, maybe a situation like that pops up, G-Dragon. That is a possibility. Yeah, thank you, Unspoken. Yeah, we're pleased at the progress she showed, man. It's she's doing really well. She's doing very, very well. With these past 8 games, what has impressed and disappointed you this season so far? Green Wingman, I mean, I was most disappointed in I'd say the offensive line, but I don't think it's fair to just call it a single unit. I was mostly disappointed in the fact that there didn't seem to be a rhyme or reason or any kind of offensive rhythm. There's like no rhythm to the offense at all, right? And that's multiple factors, right? Offensive line play, the way defenses had adjusted to us and our time frame of, I'll call it buffering, if you will, buffering to kind of figure out what they're doing to us and make our own adjustments to counter that. Those teams had an entire offseason to focus on us. We got, X amount of teams, like 12, 13 teams that you got to focus on, because obviously we played our division twice. So, you have so many other opponents that you have to focus on. You can't just narrow down on one when you're the defenders. But yes, pleased with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has grown. He has grown as quarterback. I mean, it's really hard to make a critique of the young man right now. Holds on the ball too long sometimes. Still a fantastic player. He's leading this ship right now. I have nothing but praise for the young man. Also, I'm so happy the child is doing better. Thank you, Dreamer, man. I appreciate it. Awesome to hear, man. Well, welcome back. Can't wait for some content. Have a good one, man. I appreciate you, Eagles Uncensored. I think no one was happier seeing the running game work than MJ, than Michael Jordan, huh? Yeah, I agree with that, Future. That's a good take, because every time Saquon gets what they call an explosive play, that's something more a defense has to focus on. That is not necessarily just taking away, AJ Brown. So that's going to create for AJ Brown. There's no doubt about it. Especially if they start really loading up the box with run blitzes to stop the run. Because then if we start hitting them with play action, we see the adjustment the Eagles are making, which is they're keeping the running backs in. They're going to a 7-man protection with the running backs in, and then they're going to a jumbo tight end, a jumbo, kind of offensive alignment. It's where they keep Big Fred in. Big Fred is out there blocking. And that's been our adjustment. And, if we can hold up against, a run blitz and hit them with play action, and I got one-on-one with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and maybe Dallas Goedert's still in. Maybe there's an 8-man or 7-man protection. Maybe Goddard gets released out, or maybe they're an 11-man, and maybe you got Big Fred in there as the tight end, which I doubt you'd see that. I think it'd be more 12-man, but you get my point. Maybe they are an 11-man for some kind of weird circumstance to that, and then you look at Jahan Dotson or insert name here. I think if you're trying to sell the run, I think Darius Cooper would make sense in terms of who you have there. But yeah. Any player you would be interested in the Eagles should target during the trade deadline? I'm not completely sold on CB number 2, to be quite honest, Eagles or Green Wingman. I don't know that there's a obvious answer to the problem right now, to be quite honest. I think Jacorian Bennett getting inserted back into the defense and seeing if he can be the guy in the future might have to be the solution, and then giving Keely Ringo an opportunity to continuously progress, to kind of be that guy, right? I think that's how I'm looking at it, guys. That's how I personally look at that situation. Like, if a name comes up and this is a true difference maker, I think if you go get them, we can use another cornerback. I think the other option here, Green Wingman, and I've heard this one floated out there. I don't remember who reported it, but the minute I heard it, I said, I can see that. That makes sense to me. is maybe not go outside at cornerback, maybe go inside, right? And go pluck you an inside defender, someone young with upside, and then you move one of your most talented guys, Coop, outside as the other CB, CB number 2, because then, he doesn't always have to play outside. You can, you still got, you still got talent here, guys. You still have Kelly Ringo here. You still have, Jacorian Bennett. So you can still be versatile and multiple in what you're doing. I think Mac McWilliams is an interesting young man to me. I think there's some upside to this young man. I think he has inside, outside versatility. I definitely do. But, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. It's interesting, sir. I could see a nickel corner being targeted. I could also see, like, some of the names we've heard from, like, Miami. That's the one that everyone seems to be focused on, which is like, oh, would they trade Bradley Chubb to the Eagles? Would they trade, Jalen Phillips to the Eagles? I'd take either player. I don't know that either player is like a true difference maker, but I think both players upgrade us, if that makes sense. Now, the argument being is like if we want to keep Jahad Campbell on the field, maybe that's your solution to the edge rusher spot. With Brandon Graham coming back, eventually, we are going to get, Nolan Smith back. So I think all those things together. What are your thoughts on E.J. Jenkins? Been a big fan of him since day one, unspoken. You guys probably, if there's anything you can come and really get me on, it's like, yo, Gabe, you always be picking E.J. Jenkins to make your 53-man roster. And be so wrong on that one every time. I like E.J. Jenkins' game. I think he's a serviceable blocker, especially in pass protection. I think there's room to grow in his body as a run blocker. And I think he can catch the football. I thought he was a really smart signing when they got him. I think it was off of the Jets. I think the Jets either released him or we signed him off his practice squad. I think he's a better player than what he's given credit for. So, I mean, yeah, he's a guy that I'd like to see get kind of incorporated into the offense a little bit. We lost the opportunity with Jack Stahl. I think we made that mistake a couple of times now with Jack Stahl, and I think that ship has sailed, and I think we have to move in a different direction. I think they were trying to do some unique things by adding a fullback to the offense, but I mean, I hate it for that young man. I mean, that's just a terrible way to go down after what happened the year prior. Yeah, I would love to see E.J. Jenkins and come into Philadelphia and get a role carved out here. Calcaterra is a good receiving tight end as well. Calcaterra probably has a little bit more experience as a pass protector. I think Calcaterra is particularly bad, though, as a run blocker. I don't think he's the greatest. I mean, sometimes, he shows like the willingness to do it, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. Dank, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? Say, what's up, Gate? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing well, guys. I'm doing well. All right, y'all. I'm going to jump off here because I got to go pick up the girls here in a little bit, my wife and my oldest one. And then I got to work on some videos. Guys, I will do a tour of the new spot when I get it all up here. And I'll give you a full tour of the whole house if you want. But I'll give you definitely a tour of this here loft and kind of what I'm going to set it up for streaming purposes. I'll make a video about my rig. If you guys want to know, like, what rig I put together, like what CPU I'm using, what graphic card I went with, I'll take you through. I did I pretty much did. Sorry, guys. Speaking of my oldest, that was my oldest calling. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all so much, man. I will be back. I got some videos coming up. We're going to do more live streams. The connection seemed pretty stable to me, but I'm going to watch the playback just to make sure that it was as stable as it seemed to be. But, it felt stable to me. So we'll be doing more of these, especially now that I have, better upload and download speed, man. Yeah, exactly. It should be Calcaterra's replacement. I feel the same exact way, unspoken. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here. Thank y'all so much for watching. Let me remember the cameras this way. I'll get better at that, guys. I promise you. All right, y'all. Later, guys.